Hey class, in this recording we're going to dive in and focus on the digestive system. In this one specifically, we're going to focus on an overview. As we look at the functions of our digestive system, the big picture, the big idea is to get good stuff into the body. We need to get needed nutrients into the body and get rid of the stuff that we don't want, that waste product at the end. And as we look at digestion, we can break it up into 5 big categories. Step number 1 is ingestion. And ingestion typically is going to be known as putting it in the mouth, selective intake of food. Now, if you're somebody like me, you're not really that selective, but if you're someone like my 3-year-old son, you are very selective about what you put into your mouth. Step number 2 is digestion, and we have both mechanical and chemical breakdown as subcategories of digestion. We have mechanical digestion and chemical digestion, and that's when we break the food into little pieces we can absorb, which leads us to step 3, absorption. When we take those nutrients from the lumen or the hollow spaces in the digestive tract into the blood capillaries and the lymphatic system. And then 4, we have compaction. We take all the leftovers and we squeeze them down. We compact them down into this beautiful, wonderful, solid brown mass known as feces. And then number 5, defecation. We need to get rid of the feces. So that's the digestive system in 5 simple steps, right? 5-step plan. But we're going to talk about it in a little bit more detail. So as we look at mechanical digestion, this is when we physically are breaking down the food into tinier pieces. So this is going to involve some kind of physical pressure. Cutting and grinding with the teeth is what most people think of when they think of mechanical digestion. What most people do not think about is that we still have mechanical digestion occurring in our stomach and small intestines. Our stomach and small intestines are constantly churning and squeezing the food. And as we grind it up, cut it up, we are increasing the surface area of the food. And as we have a higher surface area, we can have more chemical reactions occurring. We increase the rate of chemical reaction, and that's going to expose the food to more digestive enzymes so that we can go to the next step, chemical digestion, and accelerate chemical digestion with those digestive enzymes so that it's going faster. And with chemical digestion and these digestive enzymes, we're going to have hydrolysis reactions. For those of you who don't remember from A&P1, hydrolysis is when we use a water molecule to break apart a covalent bond. So we have a bunch of covalent bonds in the macromolecules, and we chop them up into monomers, or the residue molecules, by burning through water. And we get chemical digestion begins in our oral cavity. We have digestive enzymes made in the salivary glands, and it continues within the stomach. We also are going to have digestive enzymes produced by the stomach and the pancreas and the small intestine, and these enzymes can take a polysaccharide and make it into a monosaccharide. Take a protein and turn it into an amino acid. Take a fat and turn it into a monoglyceride and individual fatty acids, and break up the nucleic acid polymers into nucleotide monomers. So we take big things and chop them up into small things, really is what I'm trying to say here, chemically speaking. And the nutrients that are present in some usable form can be directly absorbed. So once we've gotten these big molecules and chopped them up into those little tiny molecules, the amino acids, the cholesterols, the triglycerides, the nucleotides can be absorbed directly. We also can absorb directly vitamins, minerals, and water into the bloodstream and lymphatic system for the absorption stage. As we look at the human body, for the digestive system, we have some general anatomy that we need to just cover our bases here. And the digestive system has 2 broad categories. We have the digestive tract and the accessory organs. When we look at the digestive tract is the hollow tube the food goes through. When we look at the accessory organs are the things that make the secretions, or the organs that squirt stuff into the digestive tract is another way to think of them. As we look at our digestive tract, a technical name for the entire tract, from mouth to anus, is the alimentary canal. So this is a broad umbrella term. And our alimentary canal, our digestive tract in a typical human being, is going to be about 30 feet long. It starts at the mouth. From the mouth we go to the pharynx. Let me clear the screen here. So we start at the mouth, From the mouth, we go to the pharynx, from the pharynx to the esophagus, from the esophagus to the stomach. From the stomach, we have the small intestine, then we go through the large intestine, and then finally to the rectum, and then out the anus at the end. That is the entire alimentary canal. And a subdivision of the alimentary canal is the GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract. Gastro is a root word that means stomach. Intestinal, well, means intestines. So the GI tract is the stomach and intestines only. The accessory organs of our alimentary canal include the salivary glands, the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. The teeth and tongue, we're going to include them as accessory organs, although really, are they an accessory organ or are they a structure within the alimentary canal proper? That one's kind of up for debate. That's kind of that's pedantic right there. We're not going to mince words with that one. As we look at the alimentary canal and the digestive tract in general has this common layout, this common structural plan that's modified slightly from region to region throughout the alimentary canal. We have the lumen. The lumen is the hollow space in the middle. It's a generic term that refers to any hollow organ. And then directly exposed to the lumen, we have a mucosa. This mucosa membrane is going to be made up of 3 sublayers. The sublayers of that mucosa include the epithelium, and then we have the lamina propria, that whole anchors that epithelial layer in place, and then we have the muscularis mucosa, and that muscularis mucosa is a thin layer of smooth muscle tissue associated with the mucosal membrane. And then after that muscularis mucosa, we have the submucosal membrane, and that submucosal membrane is where we're going to have most of our vasculature. Recall, think all the way back to last semester. When we look at epithelial tissues are generally avascular. That's one of their defining characteristics. So to get nutrients to those epithelial tissues, we need the highly vascularized submucosa, which is made up of connective tissues. After that submucosa, we have the muscularis externa, and that muscularis externa is going to have 2 layers to it. We have an inner circular layer and an outer longitudinal layer, and these 2 layers can pinch off and move throughout the length of the alimentary canal. And we use these 2 layers of smooth muscle for peristaltic motion, mixing, and churning of the food as we move it through the GI tract, or the alimentary canal. We also have a serosa on the outside, and the serosa on the outside is going to consist of areolar tissue, which is a loose, irregular connective tissue. It's kind of your generic duct tape of the body. We use areolar tissue all over our bodies just to randomly hold things together. So think of the areolar tissue as physiological duct tape that just anchors the digestive tract in place. And then we have the mesothelium to further anchor that areolar tissue to the surrounding tissues. Within our, did I skip a slide here? No, I did. Good. Within our digestive tract, we also have the enteric nervous system. And this is one that's, when we look at the nervous system as a whole, it's just difficult to categorize this one. Is the enteric nervous system its own branch of the autonomic nervous system? Is the enteric system a subdivision of the parasympathetic nervous system? We don't really know for sure. There's still a lot of debate going on about that one. I'm not too concerned. What I do want you to know with the enteric nervous system is when you see this enter or entero, think digestive. So when we think of the enteric nervous system, it's the nervous system of digestion. And it's going to be within the esophagus, mouth, intestines, and regulate the movement and the contraction of the smooth muscles, the secretion of the goblet cells, and the other glands of the digestive tract, and overall blood flow. Now, as we look at the enteric nervous system, it's thought to have approximately 100 million neurons, and it can function independently of the central nervous system. The central nervous system can usually exert some influence on its action, but it's capable of fully independent sub-processing and action all of it on its own. I don't know about you, but I personally enjoy deer hunting, and oftentimes when I'm field dressing a deer, I can see the enteric nervous system of that deer working independently. Even though I field dressed the deer, the small intestines and large intestines have been completely severed from the central nervous system. They're lying in the field on the ground, and the enteric nervous system is still functioning independently, having peristaltic motions of that digestive tract. And as we look at that enteric nervous system, generally speaking, we all can agree that it's part of the autonomic nervous system. The part that there's the disagreement on is it a separate division of the autonomic nervous system, or is it a subdivision of the parasympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system? As we look at the enteric nervous system, it has two networks of neurons, or two plexuses of neurons. Plexuses, plexi, I'm not 100% sure on that one. As we look at the submucosal plexus, the submucosal plexus is located within, well, the submucosal layer in the submucosa. It's very appropriately named. And this plexus is going to control the glandular secretions of the mucosa. So it helps to regulate how much mucus or how many digestive enzymes are going to be secreted into the lumen. A submucosal plexus also is going to control the movements of the smooth muscle within the submucosal layer, that muscularis mucosae. We also have the myenteric plexus. My meaning muscle, enter meaning digestive. So this is the network of nerves that controls muscles in the digestive tract, the myenteric plexus. And this is going to have some parasympathetic ganglia nerve fibers so that it can be influenced by the parasympathetic nervous system. And when we upregulate the parasympathetic nervous system, the myenteric plexus is going to start working overtime. This is one of the reasons why after you eat a meal and you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, oftentimes you have to go to number 2. You have this urge to defecate after eating a meal, because during that process of eating the meal, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which then in turn is going to cause the 2 layers of the muscularis externa to activate, which gives us peristaltic waves pushing fecal matter through the colon to the rectum so that can be defecated out. That's all we have for this recording. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them in the class discussion board or to shoot me an email. And as always, happy studies.